Morning, everybody. It's Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here with Patrick Reusse. Patrick, we had a lot of good stuff to talk about today. A lot of just interesting little stories over the last few days. Of course, baseball trade deadline is tomorrow. Twins, we'll see what they were able to do. We had to talk about the Vikings, both Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell saying things in the last, becoming public, at least in the last week, that caught my eye. And maybe we'll talk a little Bill Russell, too, the basketball legend, died over the weekend, age 88. And just watching some of the highlights of him, I don't think I quite had a full appreciation of Bill Russell until I just saw all the montages and what a gifted athlete he was, not just a 11-time NBA champ. But Patrick, here's my choice for, at this moment, through 100 games of the Major League Baseball season, most valuable player, the most valuable person, I guess, for the Twins this season, Wes Johnson. ERA in July, Patrick, was 5.30. That was right after he left, 29th in the majors. Until this month, it was an asset. Probably a coincidence because I think they were due for a regression. But my goodness, Patrick, the pitching has been awful. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't even know if they want to do much here because I don't think they thought much of this team going into the season. But what do you would you vote for Wes Johnson for team MVP?
No, I wouldn't. Okay. But that would he might have seen this coming. I think I suggested a couple of weeks ago after the White Sox series that maybe Wes didn't want to face Armageddon. Maybe that's one reason he got out of here. Maybe
could be.
Was coming because I don't think anybody in their right mind early when Dylan Bundy was the candidate to win the Cy Young for 3 weeks thought that it was serious at all. This is this is just predictable as can be that this pitching wasn't going to hold up, that the starting pitching was going to be hit the wall. Now the fact that they had 2 straight well-pitched games in San Diego and still managed to lose is kind of depressing. But I don't know. I think you can look through some of the stuff I've written, and I just kept saying this cannot sustain itself, and it certainly has not. But here's the deal: Seattle just gave up 3 of their top 5 prospects, and They actually have some prospects to get Luis Castillo. Everybody's saying, give up your prospects to get these guys. They don't have them. They got 3 in the top 100, and one of them is Royce Lewis, who's not playing. They don't have top prospects to give up. I had this thought last night. Who are we waiting for? Who are we anticipating to get here in this whole organization? We were waiting for Buxton. We were waiting for Sano. We were waiting for Barrios. We were waiting for. We've always had a couple of guys on our radar. Who's on your radar? Nobody. They don't have a top flight, surefire prospect in the entire organization. And the idea that, oh man, we're going to give up Spencer Steer and 2 other guys and get a pitcher is idiotic. You're not going to go, Tyler Mahle is as good as you're going to get, right? The idea that the Twins are going to leap in there and bid for Frankie Montas is idiotic because they don't have the ammunition to make a trade. So, and then of course now Kirilloff has got the wrist again, so he's off the board as anyone you could possibly trade. I don't think it's a thing that we're gonna all rip them if they don't make a significant trade. They're gonna bring in a relief pitcher or 2, somebody like Daniel Robertson from the Cubs or somebody, but they don't have the ammunition to go out and make a trade just like Seattle did. They sure as hell don't have the ammunition to make Frankie Montas trade. So This is, there's not going to be something big that happens on Tuesday. I think there's, they'll bring in a body or two, but it's not going to be anything they're going to get ripped for not doing more, making a trade at a higher level. And it's not happening because they can't do it. They don't have the players to do it.
No, that's a good point. And I don't think they probably should necessarily do it this year with this team. But to your point, even if they wanted to, even if this was not just a nice little story, let's say they had actually taken advantage of how bad this division was, and they were leading the division by 8 games right now, not 1 game, and you were like, okay, well, preseason expectations, whatever they were, we just know they're better now than they were. We don't necessarily know that, but yeah, you're right. That's the biggest disappointment still got to be the pitching and just how none of these guys have really arrived or panned out. They've all kind of stalled, whether it's injuries, whatever it is. It's these guys, Falvey, that was his thing, right? We've talked about that. That was this calling card coming in he's a pitching guy. They haven't developed the pitching to a degree where either it's helping them enough at the major league level or allowing them to trade for somebody else. That to me has got to be the biggest disappointment. I'm sure they're disappointed about it too.
Yep. Canarino was the guy they loved. He can't pitch 20 innings in Wichita or something. He's hurt for the second straight year. Winder's hurt for the second straight year. Balazovic he was the man 3 years ago. He's the worst pitcher in St. Paul, which is quite an accomplishment. And so you end up just shuffling these 30-year-old rejects back and forth, as though you're going to get some different result with Cotton and Cano and guys like this. All the scrap heap guys. I mean, these guys, we used to get for Terry Ryan a hard time about his dumpster diving.
Right.
Terry is out amateur compared to these guys at dumpster diving, and you just keep bringing him back. And now it's Brad Peacock. He'll be here in a week. Maybe Aaron Sanchez will be starting tonight. They're just throwing darts, man. And I was thinking about this, though. This could be the zenith right now for about 5 years. Correa leaves.
Sure.
Nobody's on the way. Reusse, they don't have a shortstop next year. This could be a complete rerun of the early 2010s. This could be, I know the division's bad, blah, blah, blah. Kansas City's got more young players than they do. Detroit's got, as bad as they've been, has got more young players than they do. I think they are on the edge of the cliff right now, that this could really get bad. Because Correa's leaving, and Miranda can be your DH, and Polanco's getting to the end of his contract. Kepler's getting to the end of his contract.
On the bright side, Sano's getting to the end of his contract.
Yeah, he is. That's
How about that experiment?
He slid once, and now it's all over. Unbelievable.
You think they're just hiding him now? They just figured out that this wasn't working?
I think he probably they wanted it. I think they wanted him to play something, but I don't buy that. I don't buy that they're hiding him. I just think that, especially with the other injuries they have.
That's true.
They're not hiding him. He just slid into a base and hurt his knee. It's all over. I don't know what's happening here, but as I said, oh man, are they going to call this guy up? No, there's nobody there. There's nobody unless you're, Seth Stowes. There's nobody that that's on the on the cusp here. There's nothing going on in the minor leagues. A couple of guys with hyphenated names who might have a chance 2 years from now, but this is they're gonna, as I said, they're gonna get ripped for not doing more, but they don't have the ammunition to do more.
MGM Wine and Spirits is the choice for savings, service, and a great selection of spirits, pre-mixed cocktails, wines, and of course, ice cold beers and hard seltzers. With over 30 locations throughout the Twin Cities and beyond, there's an MGM near you. Head to MGMWineandSpirits.com to find a convenient location in your area. Get social. Follow MGM on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest news and trends. Make great moments with MGM Wine and Spirits, your locally owned and operated choice for over 50 years. Save time, save money. Shop MGM.
And they're kind of in this weird spot right now. I feel like they're going to get ripped no matter what. It's going to be kind of fun to watch this happen because, if they don't do anything at all, they're certainly going to get ripped. If they only make a couple little moves, you can say, well, that's not going to help. And if they somehow, if they do for some reason push the chips in, they're probably going to have to make a trade that's going to empty out their farm system, and they're going to get ripped in some cases for that too. So it's just kind of fun's maybe the wrong word. It's going to be interesting to watch them, Falvey and Levine kind of take whatever's coming here from fan wise, heat wise in the next few days. Cause they built a team that is probably a little bit better than they thought it would be. And now is in first place on August 1st, even with everything that's happened, they're still up by a game. Looking at the FanGraphs playoff odds, it's still like 50% that they think, that FanGraphs at least says they're going to get into the playoffs. And it's probably going to be as a division winner, because I don't think one of those central teams is going to be a wild card, even with 3 wild cards. But, division's bad enough. They're just good enough to hang in there. They got a bunch of home games in August. Was it 20 out of 28 this month are at home?
Yeah.
So, you look at it, you say, yeah, they can still win the division, but I don't know. I think this is a mess of their own making, right? They just didn't build a good enough pitching staff, and not a genuine enough pitching effort to build this pitching staff from the beginning. And then they got maybe slightly better than expected results from the pitching. Devin Smeltzer gives them some good starts. They just kind of piece it together somehow, but now it's all falling apart, and everyone's like, well, fix it, save it. And I don't think they want to.
No, I don't think they can. I don't think that they, as I said, I don't think they have the ammunition. They took the shot in March when they traded for Paddock and Sonny Gray. They took their shot, and Sonny Gray's fine. He's about the only guy they got, and his last 2 have been really good. But Paddock was a long shot. To those of us on the outside, the idea that they gave up $6.5 million in Taylor Rogers to get a guy with a bad elbow seemed very stupid, but they must have been confident that they, that he was going to be able to pitch, and he can't. So they have, baseball is a game of attrition anyway. That because of the way injuries are now diagnosed and stuff. But they have been, beat up on the injury front. But the pitching wise, I think they took their shot, and it did work out. Once Paddock got hurt, they didn't have any pitching starting depth. And, then Winder, too. That's, what the hell? I mean, he's a big,
and Ober, too.
Strong looking kid. Ober. That's right. I mean, the rotation they imagined once they got Gray and Paddock certainly is not what we're seeing here. They thought they were 7 or 8 deep. And, now you got to tie your wagon to Dylan Bundy for another 15 starts or 12 starts or whatever it's going to be. So, yeah, it's they're prepared to have people screaming, but I think people should realize that they are not capable of making a trade like Seattle made.
No,
because they don't. Frankie Montas is going to get 3 really good prospects, and they don't have 3 really good prospects in their entire system.
I saw they transferred over to the 60-day injured list the other day. That's a big groin strain. Jeez, isn't that what they called it? A groin strain, 60-day injured list. Yeah,
and they're so crazed about. They might have to do something if they're going to call up Aaron Sanchez. He's not on the 40-man. If he's going to pitch tonight, I would guess they're going to pitch Smeltzer tonight. But if they're going to make a move with him, then they got to do something else on the 40-man. It's time to start releasing dead weight.
Yes,
on that 40-man. But I don't know. I guess Sano probably. I don't know. I think I just let him go. I just let him go. But I don't know if you can do that. I don't know what the rules are when a guy's on the injured list, if you can do it or not. But I mean, obviously, he's not going to come back. They're going to send him out. They're going to have him on the DL now and send him out again, and you're not going to see him till September if you see him at all again. But I think I just, as you're moving that roster around, it's over. Everybody knows it's over with the Twins and Miguel, and everybody knows you're not going to get anything for him. So, why bother? Just, let the guy, let the guy go and take him off the or at least take him off the 40 man and see if somebody claims him, which they won't. So.
One thing that drove me crazy over the weekend, let's talk about that Padres series before we move on to something else. Saturday, you're right, Sonny Gray pitched a good game, but they lifted him after 5 innings, and I think 79 pitches after 5 innings. They pull him, and they get through it fine. But then yesterday, they let Bundy go out for the 6th, and that's where the trouble starts. So how do you lift Sonny Gray? I think the pitches were comparable. I think maybe Bundy had a little less, but not, 79 pitches is not something where you got to say, let's get this guy out of here right away. If it was 90, 95, I could, by today's logic, I could potentially see it. But how do you lift your best pitcher and let Sonny Gray go into the 6th, and then that happens? I don't know. That bothered me.
I don't know. Are they claiming he's still coming? But did he miss some time a while back, a month ago?
Well, he's had 2 stints on the injured list this year, so that's fine. But
I have no idea what the hell they're doing with their pitching. But they some days they decide. I mean, they've had other times they've hooked Bundy because they didn't want him to face the lineup for the 3rd time.
Right.
And, done that with Smeltzer, obviously, too. I have no idea that, I was telling somebody this the other day about, this was not about pitching, but Miranda.
Okay.
I was claiming the first month he was here that his biggest problem was he never swung at strike 1, which came right down the middle of the plate. He took it just like Buxton took it for 5 years, the pitch right down the middle of the plate. And then I see Correa told him, you're swinging at everything. And I was screaming, no, he's not swinging it enough. He's not swinging at the down the middle fastball. He's getting himself in trouble, and then he ends up waving at the breaking, but then he ends up check swinging at the breaking balls. And you know how I determined that? By watching. I didn't look at any numbers, but the other day somebody looked up the numbers for me, and he's hitting 450 on the first pitch. So, I don't think they spend enough time
actually watching,
going with the eye test. Let's go with the bleeping eye test. When you watch Sonny Gray the other day, there was no reason to go get him. You're right. Make the other team do something that makes you want to get him out of the game, right? Especially when you're going to that horse crap 1-pitcher bullpen.
Yeah.
The rush to get to the bullpen that stinks. I saw Rocco say, we want to build a bullpen like Milwaukee has. Okay, good luck.
Yeah,
they got they got the 2 best relievers in baseball, Devin Williams and Josh Hader. You got Duran and a bunch of nobodies. So let's not be idiots here.
Well, if you want to, and if you want to do that, don't trade away your version of Josh Hader, Taylor Rogers. He's not as good as Hader, but
he had a lousy July. But
he did.
So what? Yes. Yeah, I don't know. To me, they're, and you do bring up Wes Johnson, and whether I know they had a lot of faith in him and stuff, but that is still the mystery of this season.
Yes.
Why he left in midseason is a mystery. And to me, there had to be something behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There had to be something behind the scenes because they don't need him to go to LSU to be there to talk to transfer portal recruits. There's this thing called Zoom that runs America now, and we're on it right now. He can talk to every recruit that they want to come in. He can fly in on days off on an LSU private jet and meet with anybody. There is no reason that he left except there was something going on within the organization that would cause him to bail in the middle of the season. It's unprecedented. It's ridiculous. And there was something behind the scenes that nobody has yet written that's going on. Nobody has yet uncovered. Something led him to want to get the hell out of here in the middle of the season. And maybe it's because he knew that his pitching was going to collapse because they were doing it. They weren't even doing it with mirrors then, though. It had already started, by the time he left here. But you're right. Statistically, he looks good. But I also, meeting Pete Mackey, seeing him in action, seeing the lack of he's not exactly a dynamo. He looked like a short-termer to me anyway. I think Colby Suggs will be their pitching coach next year.
Okay.
If these guys are all still around, maybe Jim Polad deep in his heart is saying, these guys are spending a hell of a lot of my money on ridiculous, on biomechanics and stuff like that. And meanwhile, the injury list is jam-packed.
Yes, it is.
Our pitching staff stinks. Maybe I should get a crusty old baseball guy in here who's going to say, yeah, we don't need all this stuff. So anyway, I don't know. But I think it's, as I said, if you want one message from me today, this is they don't have the ammunition to make a big trade. And the second would be your much criticized baseball team is on the edge of the cliff for next season and beyond, because there's not diddly in the farm system.
Now, what do you mean? They just called up Tim Beckham, a youngster, to DH yesterday.
Former number one draft choice.
DH yesterday. Overall. He's only 32 years old. Okay, 32, not a prospect anymore.
First overall draft choice, but that was
2008.
2008, 14 years ago.
They just called up a former number one overall pick. What are we complaining about?
Yeah, we got all kinds. We got number two overall. We got how many number one overall? We got number one overall, number two overall. What the hell?
Look at it. Look at him go now.
Yeah. We got to get off his back about not playing though. Is Buxton.
Yeah.
He's playing lots. He's playing all but 1 day a week now. So
he is. He is. Patrick, what did you think about so it was the USA Today story, like it was a week ago or so now, but it kind of caught legs over the week of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. This was an interview like in May, apparently, where he kind of said the quiet part out loud about Kirk Cousins. He said, I'll be frank, the one asset where you get nervous about not burning it down is quarterback. Says Kirk Cousins called Kirk Cousins a good quarterback, but quote, we don't have Tom Brady. We don't have Patrick Mahomes. And Super Bowl is more likely to win if you have that quarterback, very unlikely to have that quarterback. Now, this became kind of a thing. We talked about this on Access Vikings late last week, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. And Kwesi then kind of backtracked and basically said, I have to talk less, things like that. I don't think he has to talk less. I don't know. This is kind of one of those silly stories, but also one of those stories that maybe gives you a window into how he really feels about Kirk Cousins. It's not wrong. It's just maybe a little bit rare that a GM will say, yeah, we don't really have the quarterback that can probably win us the Super Bowl right now. And maybe I have a little bit of regret for not starting over at that spot right away.
Yeah. And then, of course, it was misconstrued and it was a media deal and all that stuff. But I think that he was, pretty confident in his ability to communicate and throw out very modern terms and sit down and relax and have a nice long interview with somebody from USA Today.
Right.
And then when he saw it in print, he was not quite as.
It's like, wait, I said that?
Yeah. I don't have any idea what we have here. But he's. It was a reach. There's no doubt about it. It was a guy who has never gotten hit on a football field. A guy with no background in the game at all. And a really bright guy in economics and other issues. And we'll see. But I think I find it rather hilarious that he got caught so early and basically what we used to call that shooting off your mouth. And of course that's I made a living doing that, but it's hilarious, I think. And but I, to me, the one that I wrote about the other day is he wants the joyful pursuit of excellence. It's football. It ain't joyful. It's the ugliest game ever invented. And these guys can, the fact that Justin Jefferson does the gritty after he scores a touchdown doesn't make it a joyful game, because to me, these guys are the warriors of sports, and why they're playing this game, I can never figure it out. And it's, but he loves throwing around these terms that are a little bit beyond the reach of the rest of us, because he's just so immaculately educated, and it's nice that he got caught in it. I think it's kind of funny. So
also go ahead.
I think the talent level out there is pretty good. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. But
the other quote from that story that caught my eye was, on the math side, I hope it's not going to sound arrogant, but I speak that better than any other general manager, Adofo-Mensah said. I don't know that I speak football better than them, but my worst thing is probably better than their worst thing. You know what I mean? So I think my ability to communicate in really every room in the football building makes me unique. Not to sound arrogant, but I'm better than everybody else.
I hope the fact you said you hoped it didn't sound arrogant was arrogant in itself.
Yeah, right.
It does sound arrogant. Right. Okay. And that's fine.
Back it up. As long as they back it up, this is all going to be fine. I like Kwesi still, but that interview, I bet he wishes he had some do-overs.
Well, just say that without throwing that. Right. I hope it doesn't sound arrogant.
You're right.
That point, that causes us all to say, boy, is this arrogant.
Right. Or that tells you that he's thought this quote through before and said, boy, does this sound arrogant? I'm going to say it anyway, but I hope it doesn't sound arrogant. So I'm going to say that too.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's going to be quite the new world out there as they try to BS their way through everything, but not really give you any information. So we'll see that. And of course, the other one that we were talking about earlier is the announcement on the board that they don't videotaping.
Yes,
just because it would help the enemy. It would help the other side.
Vikings fans, please help our team, not the opponents, and refrain from taking videos of practice. This was on the board the other day at the first week of camp.
If I'm out there, I'm saying, oh, hell, why don't I take a video of practice? I forgot.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Can't take a video of practice. Now they're not going to have guys running through the stands telling you to put down your cell phone, are they?
No, he said, here's the O'Connell quote from the Strib story the other day. I understand there's going to be some fans that get excited, and maybe not just fans, and video some things and put them up there. Ultimately, the goal is, especially for our fans, to understand that they're a part of this team and the excitement and joy of being a part of it. I'm not going to tell anybody sitting in those bleachers what they can and can't do. Again, kind of sounds like he is. But understand there's a reason behind it. It's not just coach speak, and ultimately we'll continue to invite folks in as long as we possibly can before we have to start closing things down and start getting ready for our first game.
Yes, and is there anything that anybody's ever seen at the first 2 weeks of practice that's going to help the Packers win? Now, actually, Atterbury texted me this last night and said, this is kind of funny, considering he used to play for Mr. Spygate himself, Belichick, and he probably knows that, what people are capable of finding in practice. But the fact that There was a lot of videos of Kirk Cousins hitting Justin Jefferson with a long pass, and as a lot of guys have had fun on Twitter saying, "Oh boy, I bet these now that they know that the Vikings might try to hit Justin Jefferson with a long pass, they're everything."
Right.
I don't know. This is going to be I think O'Connell he's not a Brewster or Fleck type BSer, but I think he's going to do a lot of triple speak, trying not to give you any information. I think he comes from. I think the Rams were a pretty paranoid, autocratic team about information, and I got a hunch that he's going to be the same here. It is though the fact that we've jumped to this, that they're just one big happy family out there. We've jumped to this conclusion that boy, it's just a whole new atmosphere out there. Who's just because they say it is okay,
right?
That's what they're saying. So, I wrote a column Saturday about Evil Zim, and
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that one.
The whole thing that Evil Zim is the reason for all the thing. I talked to two people who communicate with Evil Zim.
Okay.
They're all telling him, just relax, take the money, because his head is about to explode.
I don't love to hear that about it, because I wish him the best, but I'm glad you've communicated with people who know him, because I imagined that to be the case, yes. But I just have been thinking, like, as he's been just catching strays for the last 3 months on all that's going on here. How is he feeling?
Well, it's Jerry Kill and Tracy Claeys, being told how we got to change the culture. We got to change everything out here. The reason we stink this season, my first year here as coach, it's year 0, because we had nothing.
Right.
From a 9-4 team that won a bowl game, we had nothing. So and Kill couldn't help himself. When is
Zimmer going to go on NFL Network or someplace and just do the Jerry oh hell Kill. No, here we go, come on,
Jerry, do the killer Jerry Kill. The coincidence of the Vikings, the Gophers opening against New Mexico State this year is pretty amazing. And poor Jerry, I don't know, I gotta try to get him on the phone here in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to wait until after they play they play 5 days before they play here. They play at Nevada. So,
okay, I didn't know that.
And they got a whole new operation down there. They're finally got a league. I think they're going into the Sun Belt in a year or so. But for him to take that job, anyway. I don't know if, Kill finally, it wasn't on the Big Ten Network that Kill basically, before he signed off, said one more thing, and then he went off on Fleck for 5, 6, 7 minutes. I think it was
remember
that one. But he went out of his way to go off, and we're all waiting for we're all waiting for now. I don't think Zim would go directly at Kevin O'Connell.
No. I don't think he's mad at Kevin O'Connell.
No, I think it's the administration. What is really interesting out there is how they they brought in the new GM, and they brought in the new coach, and they brought in on the field everything, but they kept a lot of the structure of the scouting department and everything else. It's I think that's fairly unusual. I thought we were going to have a massive change there, and maybe now it might be like the Twins. The first year that Falvey and Levine came in, they kind of kept a lot of guys in place because they didn't have time not to. So that you could see big changes in those departments when this season's over. But personnel is not bad out there. I think they'll, the offensive line's got a chance to be top 12 instead of bottom 12. So, or top 15 or something, at least tolerable. At
least not the worst of their problems.
Yeah. And starting from there, then it's like all NFL seasons. What's the health going to be? If you make a lot of predictions, and if you lose if you lose 2 starters, you'll be fine. If you lose 8, you won't. So it's like,
and in those 6 games that go down to the final minute, are you going to win 4 or are you going to lose 4?
What did I read that they set a record for the most one-score games in NFL history or something? 12 or 13 out of 17, something like that.
Yeah. Well, so many of them went down to the last play too, it felt like.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's nice to know they're a little rattled out there right now, that they're paranoid about you, Joe Blow, being out there with your 4 kids, giving away tips to the Lions with your videos. And then our guy Kwesi stepping in it so early on. And I can tell you, though, the comments on my Viking column Saturday seemed to be strongly pro-Kwesi, anti-me. So that's
not a surprise, Patrick. Not a surprise.
Here's another transition that we've really made. The Viking fan base is optimistic, for the most part. They are optimists, and those of us who were around for the 4 Super Bowls are, the post Randy Moss, and we've talked about this, crowd is optimistic.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad, because I liked it when we were all a bunch of surly son of a guns who expected the worst. And there's reason to expect that with the Vikings, but the fan base is extremely optimistic these days. There's still 20% of us who are fully believe that something's going to go wrong, but that's a very optimistic fan base that wants to love these new guys. So
my take on modern sports fandom is that people are only truly optimistic when their team isn't all that great, when they feel like they can actually feel like some kind of sense of hope without the pressure. I feel like Minnesota sports fans in particular get more pessimistic the better the team is, because then they're setting themselves up to not get hurt. So It's easy to be optimistic about these Vikings because they might win 10 games and then it'd be a pleasant surprise. I don't think anybody thinks this is a Super Bowl team, do they? They shouldn't.
I don't think so. I don't. But I had this thought, though, about, and go back to me talking about the Twins being on the precipice here. You look at the rest of the town. Wild, we're still optimistic unless we can't get the guy out of Russia.
Yeah.
But we're optimistic about them. We're really optimistic about the Wolves, and I think maybe for fairly good reason.
Yes.
And the more I look at it, the more I like the Gobert trade. And the Vikings were always optimistic, and the Twins, baseball in general has got an audience that's older and crustier, and the people without any knowledge will be ripping the Twins for not making a big trade, even though they don't have the players to make a big trade. So the Twins' status is in great jeopardy for the next few years, I think, because everybody in town is more optimistic about everybody else. Anyway.
Maybe you should go visit the Loons fans who are never optimistic about Sir Adrian Heath, even when they're scoring a bunch of goals. But
4-4. We got 4. We after averaging 1 goal for the first 15 games of the year, they're either getting 2, 3, or 4.
I know. People complain. What do we want? Yeah. Well, really quick, Patrick. Felt like it would be a disservice if we didn't talk at least for a few minutes here about Bill Russell. I obviously did not watch him in his prime, but I was just really struck watching video of him yesterday after his passing at age 88. I knew about the rebounding. I don't think I had a full appreciation of the athleticism and just, world-class high jumper from what I now understand. And just, obviously such great contributions off the court as well. Just a kind of ahead of his time and how athletic and how good he was. You just watch him in some of those games with the Celtics, man, he is certainly it feels like he should be, if not the best player of all time, one of the top 5, because just watching him play, he was so dominant. Jeez.
The San Francisco Dons, where he played college ball, they won back-to-back titles, lost 1 game in those 2. And that was the first NCAA championship team to have three black starters. Him, Casey Jones, and a guy named Hal something, I can't remember. But that was the NCAA tournament, was still kind of a nebulous event that not a lot of people knew about. Of course, if Sid was still alive, he would be writing his column about how he had a trade made where he could have gotten it Bill Russell and for giving up Vern Mickelson. But Dick Enrott, the announcer, called the broadcaster, talked the Vikings, the Lakers out of making that trade. Really? We could have that traditional column from Dick, which Red Auerbach always denied. But yeah, I mean, one thing you got to remember is it was a really 10 or 12 team league, winning all those titles. Expansion hadn't really come yet. So there were good teams, but the grind of the playoffs wasn't like it is today.
No.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I saw Bob Ryan's stat today. What was it? He played 15. He had a period where he played 15 elimination games and went 15-0.
Wow.
Like, had a period of time where he never lost an elimination game. I never really got to deal with him. He's one of the few guys that that generation that I never really was in on an interview with him or anything like that. I loved him when he first got on television as the analyst once he was done coaching.
Yeah.
He was fantastic. He gave us something we'd never seen before.
Huh.
Irreverence, great laughter, enjoyment. Now he came back a second time, and I don't think he was paying much attention to the league, and he wasn't nearly as good. But the first 5-6 years, he was doing Musburger, I think he was his partner. He was hilarious, and it was. I tweeted that out yesterday, and I got some other old timers responding about that they were glad that part of him was remembered. Somebody came up with the one quote he was saying, about the physical nature of the NBA back then. He said, "No autopsy, no foul."
That was the league.
That was the kind of stuff he said. But yeah, he was poor Wilt, man. He had to go up against him all those years, and Wilt only beat him once. Only beat that team once. Wilt, of course, Russell had all those great players around him and used them to the fullest.
Yeah.
But Wilt never really had the same cast around. But it was, they were amazing. What is it? Was it 10 in a row? 10 in a row, right? How many?
It was 11 out of 13. I can't remember how many in a row.
In a row, yeah. It was, but it was still kind of a funky little league, but the Celtics were, and it is interesting to reminded of that Boston, one of the most racist towns in America, and he felt a lot of that. At the end, he said, "I never played for Boston. I only played for the Celtics because of the way he was treated in the town for select numbers of people." But big in the civil rights movement, and I heard something yesterday about how the Celtics were supposed to play the 76ers in a playoff game, and when MLK got assassinated, and the league kind of begged them to go forward with it to help, get the country to where the riots were all taking place, to get the country to kind of calm down and watch the basketball game maybe, and something like that. But then they both went to the funeral, and of course Russell had marched with MLK on the movement. So yeah, really a novel guy, and still, you'd still see him quoted the last few years. He was still fairly sharp. He just died because he was 88, I guess. So
right.
That's what happens. But he was an amazing athlete, and defensively, just, he played defense when nobody in the league played defense. That was the thing that you look back at the scores there. I mean, Wilt averaged 50 points one year. Average.
Yes, average.
Average 50 points. So it was a non-defense league that he played but he'd block shots and play great defense. And just an all-time, when you talk about dynamic athletes from the 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe the last half century of the last century, he's probably in the top 10.
Oh, for sure.
Our guys to be remembered, that's for sure. So anyway.
Well, huge loss for the NBA and the sporting world, but a great life lived for sure. Patrick, that will do it for us today. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about next week. See what happens with that trade deadline, baby. Got a little more than 24 hours to make those big bullpen upgrades. Here we go.
Yeah, well, and they might need a starter worse than they need a reliever. So that's
aside from that, maybe a couple bats too.
I'm not holding my breath. I'm not prepared to have a parade when they end up getting Daniel Robertson. Okay, that's
David Robertson or Daniel Robertson?
David Robertson. Daniel's the mediocre infielder. David is the mediocre pitcher. Excuse me. So, Tyler Mahle would be the greatest, the most they get, and I don't know if that's a difference maker or not. So
probably not. Well, we'll see. We'll find out. Thanks, Patrick.
All right. See you.